going on, guys? I'm Femitheagent.
I'm Femitherealtor.
And here we are on another episode of Sneakers and Real Estate, two of my favorite things that I love to talk about. If you follow me and my son, you know we love sneakers, we collect them. I mean, we're real estate guys. We don't sell sneakers, disclaimer. We're just guys that do real estate that love sneakers. Today, I want to jump into talking about the Jordan 3 Reimagined. Anybody that knows me knows that I love the threes, this colorway, the white cement, I think is one of the best ones that they did. This sneaker here, the Reimagined, has the Nike on the back, the OG. That's how you know what's really going on with these. And they're made from like the 88, 89 quality. When you look at the quality of the bottom, the quality of the back, even on the bottom, it's not the clear bottoms like the free throw lines, but they made these very close to, I think, the first ones that were made. So the execution on these, I think, is really, really dope. You know, if you don't own a pair of threes, you definitely want to try to get your hands on these. A lot of people are talking about this might even be one of the ones top sneaker of the year. So, I mean, it remains to be seen. But if you don't have a pair of these, you definitely need to grab them. As you can see, I have threes on my feet. I have the Armand Maniers on because I definitely love the threes. So if you don't have a pair, definitely try to grab yourself a pair. And you definitely need these in your arsenal. As you can see from the bottom, they're still dead stock. I haven't worn these yet. But if you're a sneaker guy, you definitely need a pair of these in your life. We're not going to spend too much time on the sneakers today because we do have an esteemed guest. And he has a lot to say. So I don't want to waste any more time with that. My son's going to talk about some real estate real quick, let us know where the market is.
Yeah, so as far as real estate with the rates, right now for 30-year fixed, it's around 7.25%, 7.5%. 15-year, it's around 6.5%, and ARM right now, 10-year is around a little over 7.25%. So still not the worst time to buy. I definitely suggest, you know, especially if you're getting your feet wet, take this time now. The fall coming up, you could do some, you know, modifications to your home if you want to get into any mini projects and stuff like that, to have it, you know, ready for the spring and, you know, the summer, and just to see what everything entails. And I've been speaking to a lot of people recently, as of lately, that's looking to retire within the next year. You know, summer coming up in the spring, you definitely want to start prepping before you actually retire, because obviously, or not obviously, some people might have never sold a home before, but it takes about 60 to 90 days to, you know, get your house sold and contract for the buyer to get approved for their mortgage, things of that nature, at least minimum time frame. So you don't want to wait till the day you retire to go, you know, I've been here the last 10, 15, 20 years, now I'm thinking about moving out. You definitely want to start prepping before, so you don't have to wait, you know, months, a month out, 2 months out, you know, till after you retire. You want to start prepping before that. So that's definitely my thoughts for right now. Definitely still a great time to buy, great time to sell still right now, to capture the market before, you know, people's kids start going back to school and, you know, the holidays start coming up. So it might be a little bit tougher for people to be looking around for certain things because they're trying to spend time with their families for the holidays, obviously. So definitely still a great time to sell now. Definitely still a great time to buy now. And that's really my thoughts as of right now.
Okay. So like my son said, definitely a great time to buy or sell, you know, depending on what you're looking to do. It's always a good time. It's going to be one of two things when you're talking about real estate, folks. You're either going to be paying your mortgage or you're going to be paying your landlord's mortgage. So you have to make that decision and the distinction to see what makes the most sense for you, and then you go from there. But without any further ado, I want to introduce my guy. He's an entrepreneur. He's a teacher now because he's teaching a lot of folks how to level up in this real estate game. We want to introduce Storm Leroy here.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Appreciate having you.
Appreciate you both, man. Like, wow, I'm sitting here looking at y'all going, this is beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Father-son duo, you talk about the kicks and how y'all embody both of them, you know, what your love and what his talent is for real estate, and talking about that in the market. And I'm just sitting here just smiling, like, wow.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro.
Dope, man.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it.
Getting a lot out of this, you know.
Thank you.
It's nothing like being able to do something with your children.
That's true.
Especially if you have a common bond.
That's true.
It's dope.
Thank you, man. I mean, the one thing that I always try to tell everybody with my son, I didn't push the real estate on him. It was something that he wanted to do. So he actually went and got his license then he let me know that he got his license. Because you and I both know, when you tell your kids to do something, they're always going to do the complete opposite. So it was something that he wanted to do. He had a love for it and he had an interest in it. So he went and got his license, and then he let me know. And now, we've been rocking ever since, a year and a half into it. And, we're trying to keep this thing going.
Nah, you're definitely doing a great job, bro.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I wanted to start off with, for all those that have been living under a rock. Who is Storm Leroy? What's the family background, where you're from, and we can start off from there.
Storm Leroy. Storm Leroy is from Brooklyn, New York.
What part?
Bed-Stuy.
Okay. I used to live in Bed-Stuy. I used to live on. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. I used to live on Lexington, between Lewis and Marcus Garvey.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly where that is. Not too far from me, Quincy.
Oh, okay.
1 block over.
Nice.
Quincy. And for me, it was all about my dad.
Right.
We weren't, like, it's different. Like now, I really look at children now, you have a better perspective of having your dad available to you.
Right.
For me, it was the 70s. My father's like fresh from down south from my mom's. So it's literally coming here trying to find a job. 70s was rough. 70s was different.
Right.
So me being born in that time of the 70s, it was.
I'm a 74 baby.
74?
I'm a 74 baby.
I'm 70.
Okay.
I'm 70, 1970.
Nice.
So understanding that my dad had to work, he worked right over here. He was a day laborer. He worked at wherever he could, really, doing construction. My dad was a big guy, so he worked at Woodhull Hospital.
Nice.
And while I worked in Woodhull Hospital, he would come home and.
I know that hospital very well.
Yeah, he helped build that. So coming home, I would take his boots off.
Right.
That was my time with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I would take his boots off, and then one day while he got caved in, they brought him in, sat him at the table. He was coming.
Like literally caved in?
Yeah, he was digging a ditch, and he got caved in from the chest down.
Wow.
So they couldn't take him to a hospital. He wasn't supposed to be on a job site.
Right.
So now they brought him and sat him at the kitchen table. He called me to take his boots off. So I take his boots off. So he's looking down at me. He says, "You know why I have you take my boots off?" I'm about 7, 8 years old. So I'm like, "Nah, finally, you're gonna tell me why."
He's gonna tell you, right?
And I have other brothers and sisters, but it was me.
Right.
So he says, "Because I don't ever want to see you go through what I'm going through." And that was a perfect example.
Right.
Representation of hard work for us is that you need to do hard work in order to get where you want to go in life, and hard work pays off.
Right.
Hard work builds experience. Hard work doesn't build seniority.
Right.
People have the misinterpretation that, for example, you've been driving a forklift, let's say Home Depot, you've been putting boxes on this top shelf at Home Depot, and you don't hit none of the boxes on the side. You mastered that within 8 months.
Right.
You nice. They'd be like, "Nah, you want to put that up? Yo, go
He's
get
the guy to
Storm.
call.
He the guy."
Right.
So you mastered that with 8 months, but guess what? You've been working there for 10 years, putting that box up there for 10 years. You don't have 10 years of experience.
Right.
You have 8 months of experience. You just kept doing the same thing over for nine years and 2 months later.
Wow.
So people think like, "Yo, I got this many years of experience." No, once the experience stops because you mastered something, it's just a repetitive thing.
Wow.
You keep doing it over, but it tells us it's seniority. That's not it. Because if I stop them right now from putting that box up there, 3, 4 years later, I'll be like, "Yo, put that box up." Guess what you're gonna do? Throw that box up.
Throw that box up, right?
You know what I mean? So going real quick, back having my dad and being able to have your dad, my father came from a time where literally his grandmother was a slave.
Wow.
So I always say I'm only 2 generations away from slavery.
Right.
When you look at it like that, I understand my mother didn't tell me she loved me until I was in my 20s.
Wow.
My father never told me he loved me.
But remember, like you said, for us, sorry to cut you off,
Yeah.
my parents are Nigerian. So for them, I think they try to do the best for us that they could based on how they were brought up.
Yeah.
Oh, am I wrong? You correct me if I'm wrong.
You're 100% right. And it also got to look at it like this. My mother, I heard stories about how my mother's uncle, when they walked 10 miles out of slavery. When they let them go from slavery, middle of the night, imagine this, it's late at night, you're on a plantation, you're set free from slavery, it's dark. There ain't no street lights how we have.
Right.
So now you have to walk out into the forest. You're just walking out into nothing.
Trying to figure out your way.
So they walked 10 miles and built a cabin. So
Wow.
now my great grandmother and them built a cabin. They got their children. Now they have You know, my great grandmother had 10 or 15 children.
Right.
But there was the stories about how it's only a one-room shack. So that child had to eventually go off and try to make it here to the east.
The east,
where
wow.
slavery wasn't like it was with Jim Crow down there.
Right.
There's stories about never hearing from them ever again. They just going off into the wilderness, disappearing. So imagine that as a little kid, your uncle or whoever leave a house, leave the shack, never to be heard from, never to be seen again. Imagine how the mother feels knowing they may never make it.
Right.
So my mother understood, they understood that it felt temporary,
right.
watching your child, sharing things with your child.
Right.
My mother never told me her deepest things or what she wanted to do until she got in her 60s.
Wow.
Like how she always dreamed about being a model and stuff
Wow.
like that. So I always look at kids now and go, when I hear children say, oh, my father's not there for me, my mother's not there for me, and this not, they're not there for me.
Right.
I say my father wasn't there for me either, but he was in the house. He wasn't there because he was working.
He was working, right.
He had to work.
Right.
That was when one salary took care of the house.
The whole house.
Mother stayed home, took care of us,
took care of the bills, took care of the kids.
and made it work.
Right.
So now when I hear kids now say the things they say, I understand that I hate to use the word spoiled, but they don't get the stories like I got them.
Right.
Like they need to hear the stories about what we went through, what our grandmother went through, what our parents went through.
That's a fact.
And that resonated with me because everybody always told me stories. My great uncle told me stories. My uncles now tell me stories, and it's like they looked at me to be the guy to give the stories to.
Right.
So I understood the value of that. And then my father, back in the 70s, we weren't able to own our home. You gotta understand, it was redlining.
Right.
Even though 1968, the Fair Housing Act came into play, they
It
still
enacted
didn't
it.
allow,
Right.
Yeah, they still didn't allow us to buy.
Right.
So I understood the agony of having to pay somebody rent. I understood that not being able to have ownership. So when I got the opportunity, worked for Verizon to buy my first piece of property back in 1999, it felt good to own real estate.
Right.
But I gutted that property out, took all the pipes, the floors, everything out. So I'm in that basement of this property, and I'm looking all the way up at the ceiling. And I'm like, Dad, my dad would be real proud of me. I bought my first
You bought your first property.
Ripped everything out. But I also said, I'd never do this again because I was working hard.
Right.
Something he didn't want me to do,
Right.
work hard. But I got to give thanks to my job because if it wasn't for my job,
You wouldn't be able to do
I
this.
wouldn't be able to have that.
Right.
So I always say your job is your first business partner.
Right.
My job allowed me to take that job, get a salary, to pay my bills, to build my credit score up. That job allowed me to put it on an application.
Nice.
That job allowed me to get a down payment. So when people say, I hate my job, I hate this, I don't like going to work, I tell them, you hate your job because you don't see the exit.
There has to be an end game.
There has to be an end.
Right.
And when people, I didn't come here to work, they don't have an end game. I didn't
Right.
like going to my job either, but once I understood that if I take this part of my salary and start buying this much real estate, I'll leave my job in 5 years.
Right.
I look forward to going to work every day. Every day I would get up and go, I know I'm leaving in 5 years. All I have to do is take this salary. And we abuse our salary at work. And the only reason we abuse it because we don't understand the power. That is our first business partner.
Right.
We get things like our income tax and we want to ball out. We want to party. We want to buy a down payment on a car.
Right.
We want to take a trip. But really, I tell people, you have $20,000 trapped that you don't even realize. You have, if you were to do $100 a week, that's $5,200 a year.
A year, right.
$5,200 a year. Then you take your tax return. The average tax return is about $3,000. Now let's say you have children. That's anywhere from 5 to 7.
5 to 7, right?
So let's say 5,000. Now you save the $100 a week. That's $5,200 plus the 5. That's $10,200.
Right.
Then we have memberships of things that we don't even do. People have gym memberships
That they don't use.
Don't use. Then we have the people who say every day I gotta have my cup of coffee and my bagel. Now that's $1,280 if you do $5 a day. So that's $1,200 on top of that. Then you have the people who do the extra luxuries like my birthday's coming, I'm taking me a vacation.
Right.
1 year don't take a vacation. 1 year don't do this. Especially let's avoid the biggest thing that's killing our community, which is car payments.
Right.
We will get a car and we have to, this is the thing I get very passionate when I talk about
Pay
this
attention,
stuff, right?
folks, pay attention.
Because we need to understand why it's so easy to get a car loan, but it's so hard for you to either get a mortgage or a business loan.
Right.
Like, they want you to have a car because you're gonna go in debt. The car is gonna eventually lose
Depreciate and
value.
lose, it has no value behind
Right.
it.
But we get the car and go, I
I've made it.
deserve this. I earned this. No, you didn't earn it. I'm so sorry to tell everybody out there.
Newsflash, folks.
You did not earn paying a $700 a month car note, $1,000 a month car note. Think about that could be a mortgage on an asset that's gaining equity that you're earning for your legacy. What you earn and what you define or what you see as greatness isn't dictated until you no longer here. I'm going to repeat that again. What you earn and what you define as being greatness is nothing and will be defined once you are no longer here. While you're here, you're still creating the path. You're still creating the sand. You're still creating the footprints within the sand. If you say, oh, I'm great, I'm doing this, I have real estate, I have houses, I have a business. No, you're not great until you actually do the paperwork and the trust, the living trust to leave that to your legacy.
To your legacy.
Now when they get it, now they will be the ones to say, my grandfather was great. My parents was great. But if you die, the information dies with you. The properties get sold. The business gets sold. The properties go in foreclosure. What did you really do to require you to say you were great? You're living in the time, in the era, especially with social media.
Right.
Sorry, I gotta get on my rants, right? Especially in the time of social media. We look up our ancestors, and I did mine. We had black and white photos. We hear the stories of people where we come from, tell us the stories. But now you live in an era where social media will be your genealogy story. It would be able to tell your grandkids all about you, every party you went to, everything you used to do, where you used to go. Now I want you to imagine this. Your grandchildren go into Instagram and Facebook and go, let's go look up our great-grandmother, our great-grandfather.
See what they were doing.
60 years from now. Now they're looking you up. They're seeing everything you did. And I'm not saying you can't party, but there's a certain point in your life when you hit a switch. Will they see you hit the switch where you start buying real estate and leaving messages for them? Will they see you hit the switch where you bought a business? Or they'll see a video of you going, I ain't thinking about my grandchildren. I need to live for me now. I need to live for me now. Better yet, what are you going to do to make you worthy enough for them to even look you up? What are you going to do? The stories of what you do. I want everybody to do something for me before we keep going, and I'm going to give them back this spotlight. I understand my time is short, so I try to get as much out while I'm on this.
We appreciate it.
Right?
Talk that talk, Storm.
I need everybody to go on your social media platform. I want you to leave a message to your grandchildren. I want you to be intentional. I want you to say, I want to leave a message for my grandchildren to let you know I'm living the best life I can, but I'm leaving something for you. If you look back and find this message, I want you to know I thought about you. I'm thinking about you. I'm putting things in place for you to tell the story for the rest of our legacy because I won't be here to share it. I want to challenge you to do that. Okay,
wow.
Brother.
Wow. You got a question for him? I wanted to find out from you, how did you, what made you get into real estate?
Watching my dad and actually not wanting to work for nobody else.
Right.
I understood that working a job was the starting point. A job,
or means to an end, would you say?
a means to an end. Yeah, it's a means to an end. A job is a starting point on where you should be,
right.
Like where you want to go. But a job for me shouldn't be a place where you say, I want to go here and then I'm going to retire. We have to stop using that word retirement as a pinnacle.
Right.
I hit the ultimate point when I'm able to say I retired. You're only retiring from a job because that's something that either your body gave out, have no more value to them, and they're like, you gotta go.
Right.
That's retire. But think about when you have something that's yours, something you created.
That no one can take away from you.
You're not retiring from something you love, something that you can do, something you plan on handing down. That's something that it's ingrained in you. I just want to keep on morphing into a different version of myself. So I got into real estate knowing that real estate was the starting block for me to create passive income and to buy assets. But I'm not stopping with real estate.
Right.
I'm moving on into other things, and we could talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah, real estate is just a starting block.
Okay, and you bought your first property here, you said in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. What made you go from, I know you said you didn't, because you were doing the work, I guess you weren't looking to do the manual part of the labor, which is why you, I guess, stopped buying in New York and started buying out of state?
Yeah.
Or how did that whole thing come about?
You hit the nail on the head. When actually got contractors doing the renovations and doing all this stuff and flipping. Like I started in that space.
Right.
Getting properties, fixing them, flipping them. I had a contracting company, a renovation company. Like
you were in it.
I went in.
Okay.
Found me some good guys who know how to do some work.
Nice.
But I realized, like, yo, this is crazy. This is like a job.
A job, right.
I almost lost my job at Verizon because I was at my first property so much. Like I had to be there. I had loads come in, sheetrock, decisions need to be made.
Right.
I'm like, I'm almost losing the thing that allowed me to get into
business. To be able to get into this.
Get in.
Right.
Exactly. It's like, nah, I can't do this.
Right.
So I stopped buying property and I picked back up. I did everything in between. I was always like the entrepreneurial spirit.
Right.
You know what I mean? I started buying stocks. I got with a group of guys. We started doing this. I created some inventions. I did a bunch of things. But then I realized passive income from the real estate was the thing because I didn't have to go get that money.
Right.
Even though like I definitely didn't want to be a landlord. Like tenants that's the most darkest secret in real estate nobody tells nobody. Everybody want to tell the stories.
Well, they'll tell you about the glitz and the glamour. My dad used to own 6 brownstones in Brooklyn, but he had so many problems with his tenants, he gave the properties back to the bank.
See what I'm saying?
Right now, he lives in Connecticut. Every time I bring him down here, he's crying. He wants to kick himself, but he had the foresight to be able to do that part of it. But like you said, we couldn't manage the tenants or figuring that part of it out.
Yeah.
I mean, because my dad didn't start reading until he was 16.
Oh man.
So he did the best that he could. He's 83 now, God bless him. He did the best that he could. So, like you said, we try to pick up whatever little bits and pieces that we can from them, and then we try to take it a step further. What's your background? What's the family background?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay. I was figuring it's probably like a Caribbean descent or something.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Caribbean or African. Like,
that's what I was thinking, because I'm Nigerian. I'm like, Storm does a lot, so he gotta be from back home.
Storm don't do a lot. Storm does a lot of thinking.
A lot of thinking. Okay.
I'm an ultimate thinker, and I want to hire the ultimate doer.
Folks, you don't always need to be the guy that does everything.
Yeah.
And this is something I'll tell you that I struggle with. I'm a real estate broker now, 21 years. I struggle with that because trying to find the right person to delegate certain things to, when you can't find it, for me, I struggle with it because I need someone to be able to do things the way that I do things. Because at the end of the day, it's my name. But like I said, that's something that I struggle with, so maybe I'll get your advice about that off camera. Because I know you do a bunch of different things. So like I said, how did you, I guess, going into it, thinking, I guess you were trying to put together a plan while you were working at Verizon to exit that? Because how long did you even work at Verizon before you got out?
I started working in Verizon in 1995, 96.
Oh, wow, okay.
So there's no social media, it was nothing.
It was nothing, yeah.
It was nothing.
Yeah.
So once I got into out of state, that was in 2015. I got out of state after I bought my first property in 99. So now we look at it as I had to get all this information myself.
You took a big lapse.
Yeah, I took a big lapse because I started businesses in between.
Right.
I was an artist, I recorded, I did my own, like I had barbershops. Those who watch my story, I was part of, if y'all know the cell phone era with the flip phones.
Yeah.
Remember the illegal flip phone eras?
I used to work at a cell phone company back then. We talked about that off camera.
Remember the great flip phones when they used to program it?
When they programmed it?
Yeah, I was part of that.
Okay.
So that was a big
I knew something about that too.
Yeah. So I was a big part of that, and that made a lot of money.
Right? Yeah.
It's because of guys like me and my peoples. It's free nights and weekends.
Free nights and weekends.
Went to just so cheap,
right?
Because people couldn't afford cell.
Well, it was so expensive back then, so everybody was trying to find. You were trying to find a cheat code.
And once that program came out, I mean, we were making thousands of dollars a week. I was doing most of the industry. Like I have a lot of friends in the music industry,
right?
And I met most of them through doing the cell phones.
Right.
Used to fly me out, bring a box full of phones, and boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
So I enjoyed my time, but I realized that I need to get this real estate straight. So I got my first piece of property in Indianapolis for $8,000. I bought that property for $8,000 down. It was a $40,000 property.
Okay.
Now, people always wonder, how can you get a loan for a $40,000 property? When you're buying a property in a certain city or a certain state where all they have is $40,000, $60,000, $80,000
properties,
the bank will loan to that property because the bank is in business to loan money.
And that's what their market is.
That's their market.
Right.
So you can get that. So it's like, oh, you can't get a loan for that. Yeah, in that town, you can.
You can,
So
right.
I actually got the loan for that property. The property was paying Section 8. It was, Section 8 was about $550 a month.
Okay.
You know, so that was equating easy for me, somewhere about $6,000 a year.
Right.
So I paid $8,000 down to make $6,000 a year. So that was a hell of a return.
A hell of a return.
I got me a property management company, figured out how to do that,
Nice.
use online community. And then once that money started coming in, it was guaranteed from Section 8.
Right.
I was like,
The first of the month, it could be on the weekend, folks. That money's in your account.
always.
Right.
The government's never late with rent. So once that money came in, I was like, yo, that was easy. Let me find another one.
Right.
So I got me a mentor. Get you a mentor. Let me say that. Just like in the dictionary, the word mentor comes before money. If you want to get to the money, get yourself a mentor.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Got me a mentor, schooled me about everything about out of state, everything about this. And I took a lot of what he gave me and I said, okay, I want to be better than him.
Right.
I want to be better and more advanced. And that's what you need to be. And he saw that in me. And only way I can equate that where people can understand it, even when Kobe met Michael, he told Michael, I want to be better than you, even
Right.
though he idolized Michael.
Right.
He knew there's more to this thing now than when you played, and I'm going to incorporate that in my game.
And
that's
take it
how
up a
I
notch.
felt. There was only so much he could teach me in
Right.
out of state because it's new stuff now, and I needed to incorporate that.
Right.
He wasn't so much with the using the technology and the
Because you didn't
the
have it
big-
back then anyway.
Didn't have it.
Right.
But once I got into the space, the bigger pockets, the rental meter.
Shout out to Bigger
learning all
Pockets.
the-
Yeah, they're pretty.
Once I started.
Oh, wait, I heard that they had a check for you. Did we took care of that?
Yo,
I don't want to be shouting them out and they
Rental
didn't.
meter reached out to me.
Okay.
Rental meter, we got it straight because I talked a lot about them and all
Okay,
my
okay.
and Bigger Pockets though. We'll work it out. We'll figure.
I don't want to be
It's all
shouting
good.
out people if they're not doing right by my guy.
We'll work it out.
Okay, okay.
Brad. You know what I'm saying?
Brad, cut that check.
I think it's Brandon, matter of fact.
Oh, Brandon.
Brandon. Yeah. So
But let me ask you a question. You being a Brooklyn boy,
yeah.
Indianapolis, how did that even come about?
See, I'm glad you brought that up, right? And I'm gonna talk about mindset, but I want to remind me to talk about something that happens before mindset.
Okay.
So the thought process was, why are you caring where the asset is? You're buying a business. When you buy a property, I'm not even gonna call it a property. When you're buying an asset that's guaranteed to make $6,000 a year, and that asset has never defaulted on a payment every month for the last 3 or 4 years, I wanna sell you this asset. Never been late on a payment.
Right.
You guaranteed to get $6,000
Every
every
month.
year, and all you
Oh,
gotta
every year,
do
I'm
is
sorry.
buy it for $8,000.
$8,000.
Why wouldn't I buy that business? I look at properties as business. I don't care where it's
Where it is.
located. I just need to know how to do the proper searches on Realtor, Zillow, Trulia, how to find the asset. And I tell people the best way to define your searches when you're looking for properties, go into one of those and do tenant occupied. Do Section 8, search for it. So I just look for properties that are making money because it's a business. Even with a long-term tenant, Section 8, VA housing, and long-term tenants that's been in place for more than a year and a half.
Right.
Not new tenants. I don't like any properties with new tenants. I like
okay.
someone that's been there.
It's
and
been
I can see
established. And you can see a track record.
I can see a rent roll.
Okay.
I request a rent roll from the property manager. Now I look. If they've never been late, I like the asset. I want to buy the asset. I don't care where it is. I don't care what color the house is. I don't care if the inside, they got, I don't like hoarding. That's the only thing I
One of your
frown
requests
down.
that you try to stay away from. Okay.
Frown on hoarding, but I don't care what color the house is. I don't care about if they got carpet, the hardwood floors. The property's in good condition. They're taking care of it. The money's coming in. There's the HVAC, water heaters, and things of that nature.
Are in place.
That's for the inspector. I do the preliminary things to say, it fits these requirements.
Of what you're looking for, right.
Now
Let's
let me
go.
get an inspector to go in here to look at the properties to tell me about the foundation, the HVAC, the water heater. But the key thing is making sure you find the right property manager in that city, in that state.
Right.
Exactly. Because they're going to be the ones you're going to send.
But your
with.
eyes and ears on the ground.
They're
Because you're
going to
here.
go view the tenants.
Right.
See, the inspector inspects the property. But since you're buying a tenant occupied, who's going to inspect the tenant?
Right.
The property manager go in there, and now he inspects the tenant and walk around and, okay, Okay, they're not hoarding. Okay, hey, how do you like the neighborhood? You've been living here this long. And here's something I recommend everybody have their property manager ask. If there's one thing in the house that you can fix, one thing, what is that one thing? That question will tell you everything, because either they're gonna say, there's nothing wrong, I really love the place, and you know you got a gym. Or they're gonna say,
They're gonna open the floodgates and start.
they're gonna tell you that well, you know, when it rains, I get the backup into the plumbing, and
Right.
it may not be raining while the inspector there, so he doesn't see that.
He don't see that.
So when it rains, I get that. Now you know it's a problem. Or they tell you, well, I just need the cabinets, if they can kind of fix the cabinets. And now you know, okay, it's something small, then you let them know, well, guess what? We're gonna take care of the cabinets, we're gonna fix that, but we're gonna increase the rent by $50 a month. Do you think you can handle that?
Right.
Now, once you say that, you just tacked on $600, $50 a month.
Just like that.
Just like that, by fixing something small. But your property manager, he doesn't want to inherit a headache either.
Right.
So that's why you send a property manager with the inspector to find out about the properties. So once I got that system down pat,
Right.
I went on to buy about 15 properties within 2 years. But
15? Wow.
15. But it changed, you know why? Because I started saving more money and taking the cash flow I was getting to buy more money.
To buy more and use that as your
once-
down payment.
And once I understood taxes, once I understood that you have your LLC structures properly, now I'm writing off having a home office. I'm writing off the taxes of that. I'm writing off a portion of my light, gas, car depreciation, mileage, airplane flights. Like, there's a book called Tax Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. Get that book.
have that book, huh?
I need you guys to read that. And
Tax Free Wealth.
Tom Wheelwright. There's another book, Who Not How. Get that book. Once I understood the taxes, I started making $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 on my taxes. So that literally was allowing me to buy more properties.
Right.
But my mentor said something to me. I know he's like, damn, he don't stop talking. He took over the whole damn interview.
I'm making notes of the books because we all here to learn, bro.
So my mentor told me, you're doing great, but your life will change once you start partnering. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm making money. He said, okay, once you start partnering on real estate, your life is going to change. We are taught so much that, nah, I'm going to do it myself.
Right.
Nah, I'm good. I don't work with nobody. Once I partnered and realized my $20,000 that I could have bought two properties with, if I get 2 more people with $20,000, so that's 2, 4, 6.
6, right.
I just added 6 properties to my portfolio instead of 2.
Right.
And why is that important? Because now I'm doing taxes for 6 more properties instead of 2. And why is that more important? Because I got equity growth in 6 properties instead of 2. Partnering, I went from 15, 16 to leaving Verizon in 5 years, owning over 30 properties valued at almost $3 million.
Wow.
Did it all on Instagram Live the day I was leaving.
Wow.
Yep.
In 5 years.
5 years.
You got any hot zones, like specific places you like more than others that you like to buy?
Yeah, wherever the property is making money. I don't care if a property is in Alaska. If the cash flow is...
For you, it's all about cash flow.
It's all about cash flow.
For the most part.
It's like a business.
Right.
See, I don't care where it's located because odds are I'm never going there.
Right.
The odds are somebody's living there and they happy where they're located. So I just need to do the math to make sure the numbers work because you're buying a business, people. You're buying a business. Do not be emotionally attached. I have a system where I sell properties within 3 to 5 years. People are like, yo, you bugging, you never sell properties. No, some of my properties I sell. You know why? Because there are certain cities where you get high cash flow, but low equity growth.
Right.
So now I'm making great cash flow.
Right.
But that equity is never going to grow.
It's never going to grow.
But at the same time, the property is now, even though depreciation is happening,
Right.
the wear and tear on the property is
It's
happening.
also happening too.
The water heaters, the roof. I don't want to fix no capital expenditures. I don't want to fix a roof. I don't want to change HVACs. I don't want to do all that. I want to sell it while that still has life.
And while it's still hot, yeah.
And now I could take the money and then I'll take the money and get something maybe in Atlanta or Florida, somewhere where now equity growth is there. But we get so caught up on, don't ever sell a property. Don't ever sell a property. And then you'll be like, yo, the roof, $7,000. HVAC, $6,000. You might make that a year or a year and a half.
Even leasing, even the water line that comes in from the street. I have a property I bought in Queens 2 weeks after I bought the property. they said because it's galvanized, I got to change everything. So I couldn't put it under the insurance. $8,000 later, folks. So what he's saying makes sense when it comes to the wear and tear.
Yeah, you have to look out for that. That's a big thing, because I had a property in one of the states where the tree root was which went into the cracks and it really just started growing into the line.
Wow.
And good thing, the question I had my property manager asked, because the tenant was like, well, this line down here for the bathrooms get clogged up and I don't know why.
Right.
So he got a scope done. Scope showed the roots going in. I said, you're gonna write that? No, we need to deduct this from clay pipe that the tree's going in, and now I need to get this fixed. I bought a property, but I need to get the cost of digging this up and changing that clay pipe and getting that fixed.
Right.
Would have never known if we didn't ask the magic question.
Wow, that's a great question. How long did it take you, I guess, before you started asking that? Because that's not something that you knew off top.
Actually,
everything comes with experience, as we all know.
My mentor.
Your mentor, okay.
My mentor threw that in there, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that's dope. So I started realizing that, see, what we have to really wrap our head around is that everybody works for you. In real estate, the agent works for you, the appraiser works for you, the inspector works for you,
the insurance person works for you.
Everybody works for you, but we think that they doing us a favor.
Right.
They're not doing you a favor. They're working.
Right.
Especially when it comes to out-of-state properties. I tell people you have to learn to build this relationship with them that doesn't exist. I know that sounds crazy. You have to build a relationship that doesn't exist because you're so far away. If you build this too friendly of a relationship, even if they only manage one property, you want to let them know that I'm the king in the ivory tower.
Yes.
You're going to respect my one property because I learned, now this is from experience. I got too friendly with one of my property managers and hey, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And it went from, yes, sir, and we'll take care of this property. We get somebody over there right away to, oh yeah, I was going to get right back to you, but I know you busy. You don't know my business. You don't know my business, right? Because we got cool.
Wow.
And he was, and it turned from my property being a priority to the person
I'll get to it when I get to it?
I'll give him a call tomorrow, or, oh, I'm gonna run over there, or making excuses.
Wow.
And then the problem was, I learned it was hard for me to get rid of him because I felt like we was cool.
Right.
And I was like, damn, I gotta get rid of this company. And I put 4 properties in his property management company, and I lost money not being able to release. That's why I said create a relationship that doesn't exist.
Well, you said also, I guess another one of your the things that you go is the unattach yourself from, I guess, from the emotion or from the end result.
Got to. Emotions doesn't exist. But when
it comes to business, it definitely doesn't, folks. Stay out of your feelings.
100% release the emotion. But what I wanted to tap into real quick, because we hear a lot about mindset. Mindset has become like one of the top 5 catchphrases in entrepreneurial space on how to improve yourself. Mm-hmm. Yo, your mindset, you gotta get your mindset right. And what I tell people, before mindset even exists, you gotta believe.
That's a fact.
You have to have belief. Like, if you don't believe you can be the thing, you will never become the thing.
Or if you don't believe in yourself, how's anybody else gonna believe in you?
You have to believe. And what I like to equate that to is, man, sometimes some stuff bugs me. I would come to my brain, so I just gotta laugh at myself. I said, when a baby is born, the baby will sit on the floor and watch us walk around. That baby will look at us and go, why am I the only one laying on this floor? And that baby will start to crawl.
Right.
That baby is now putting in his mind the belief that he or she can walk. Right. He's crawling. He's crawling. The baby will actually crawl to you, grab your leg in the attempt to stand, to start preparing to walk. But what we do, we pick the baby up, oh, he coming at me. The baby will crawl to a stranger leg in the house and think, oh, he like you. No, the baby wants to stand because it's the belief that he can walk that he's preparing his mindset. Now what happens next? We now go see the baby crawling towards an inanimate object, where a table, a chair, something that doesn't have life, but we see him crawling to it and we're like, oh, he's going towards the table, he's going towards the chair. Why? Because he's trying to find something to stand on. It's not the attraction of the table. He realizes I need to crawl to this thing to get the stand without this thing picking me up.
Pick me up.
So now it gets to the table, it gets on the ledge, it stands, and now it goes like this. And now what does he do? He starts to take the steps down the edge of the table. Now this is when we get excited. We go, oh wait, leave the baby alone. We get our cameras, but the baby gets to the end of the table, and now we watch something so incredible happen. The baby now makes a decision on going, I gotta let this table go. Mindset kicks in. He went from the belief knowing he could crawl to knowing if I wanna walk 100%, my mindset got me here, I have to let go of the table and walk. The baby let go of the table, and then he goes, take those steps. We get overly excited. The baby looks, and here's the most fascinating thing. My brain works crazy, forgive me.
That's okay.
The baby experiences something that it never had a chance to experience before. It's excited. It, for the first time in a baby's life, it understands the feeling of accomplishment. It walked. It got excited. That's mindset. You have a belief and mindset in you when the day you were born. All you had to do was realize and transition the belief and say, I got the job is paying me a salary to now invest in myself because the job is paying you never to come back to work. Right. You just ain't figured it out yet. You paying bills and keep coming back asking for money, and they telling you, well, go do more work. Now you invest in yourself. You have the belief because you see that you can do this thing. Somebody else is doing it. It's just now you develop the mindset with a tangible plan. Mindset is the plan. Watching us talk and give you this information is the plan. You must say to yourself, I always pause when I think I shouldn't say something because people are not ready to hear the truth, and I'm blunt because I'm getting older. I'm in my 50s and I realize I'm the old uncle in the room, right? So I like to say what I want to say. You cannot be a better version of yourself. I want you to let go of the expression that we took with us. I'm gonna be a better version of myself. If that current version of you now is operating at 70%, a better version of yourself will still operate at 70%. You'll just be more efficient. I hope you caught that. You must literally change who you are, kill the person who operates at 70%, let them go off because they got the 70. You have to become 100% of the person who focuses on the 30%. So now you can become a greater existence of who you are now. You cannot ever perform at your highest level if you don't change who you are at the level you are now. After listening to this, you must think about your next, because the person you are now is dying in the middle of this interview. It's slowly dying, and you're creating the next version of you because you now get information that will change your life. So tomorrow, you're gonna become the next person, and next, because that other person no longer exists. You can't be a better version of a 70% side of yourself. You have to let that person die and grieve that person for one day. Grief is the depression of you saying, I'm scared to do the new thing. Grief is the depression of going, that old version of me was safe. It had security. Now you scared for the change of who you're going to become. But the other side of grief is what? Now we're happy again. We're realizing, I need y'all to do that, man. Okay, man, I'm sorry, man.
No, listen, we love it all. That's why I wanted to sit down and talk with you, because I know you spitting that real, and you very direct with it. Yeah. I wanted to go back to Section 8, which we were talking about before, or the properties that you buy with Section 8. With the stigma that everybody has with Section 8, when you started looking at properties, what made you say, that's the route that I'm going to go instead of just dealing with regular working tenants or working class people?
Because I'm relying on the tenants to pay my rent.
Right. And
when I first became a landlord, and I realized I didn't want to leave that kind of power in somebody else's hands to pay my rent. So once I did get that first property to pay Section 8, there was no looking back for me. You know, I understand that. Even now, with some of my long-term tenants, I had a Section 8 lady. She's been there for like 20-some years.
Wow.
Unfortunately, she passed away, right? So being that she passed away, now they need to put a new tenant in there. So they put a tenant in there about a year ago, and that tenant paid 2 months and never paid rent again.
Really?
So I have 2 properties that I have problems with, and those are properties where tenants were placed new. So I never like new tenants.
New tenants, right.
Like I would rather sell a property and move on because I want to avoid that. And I want to tell people another thing. We hear about landlord-friendly states. Landlord-friendly states were cool before COVID. You have pre-COVID, you have after COVID reality of real estate.
That changed everything.
Changed everything because you have states where you still can evict a tenant in 6 days, 10 days.
6 days.
Yeah, Georgia, like Atlanta, certain states, you can have the court literally get them out, like if they're evicted. But here's the problem. That letter goes to the sheriff, and now the sheriff has to come get them out.
And get them out.
The sheriff's department, the sheriffs are backed up for a year.
A year.
A year. So I have properties in landlord-friendly states where they're evicted, but they're not going nowhere until the sheriff comes. Wow. So I have a property now where a tenant's been in there for like 9 months, almost 10 months, hasn't paid rent, and she's evicted legally, but the sheriff have to come to serve the paper and get them out. So even the rules of landlord-friendly state, I'm gonna tell you, means nothing. It means nothing. Right. Everything is changing in the grand scheme of things. So you have to have a formula that works. For me, it's the guarantee rent with the Section 8. And I want everybody to start looking of, like, it's always about evolution and changing. Like I tell people, change, change, change. I know I had to change. I know I had to go from doing, 1 unit to 4 units to now doing syndication and doing apartments. I don't want to manage properties no more. I want to transition into buying companies, corporations. Like these are the things we have to do. If you can manage properties and have other people manage the properties for you, and you know these are a business, what is the next step then? Actually buying a business.
A business.
Like you can leverage profits from business to buy businesses without ever having to put a down payment on the business. Like in my community, I have a mentorship where I mentor my mentees and I teach them the evolution of you're not staying in this space that you're in with me. I already had them, we did a 16 unit deal in Long Beach, California. I think it's 11 unit deal in Long Beach, California for $2.1 million. Like I partner with my mentees. I'm not gonna have them buy stuff if I'm not gonna
if you're not gonna do it, right.
Right, so now we get ready to buy a company. We're looking to buy a huge company and this company is valued at $20 million with $1 million profit. So we're looking to do big things in my community. And I advise everyone to find a community. Instagram is not your friend. Instagram is literally changing in front of your eyes. Instagram was like Fox channel when Fox Network when it started. Fox Network used every black show it did to get the ratings to get us up, to get the viewership. Once it got the Super Bowl, every black show was gone. It's like, oh, thank you. Instagram ain't no different.
Well, that was their end game. They look to get to a certain point, and then, like you said, I don't need you anymore.
Same thing. Instagram, we influencers, like all of us was teaching. We were teaching everything. We had all these millions of people, everybody tuning in, lives were crowded on the lives every night.
Right.
We were paying for ads. We were doing everything. Now, you look at Instagram, you ain't getting no lives. You ain't getting no followers like you thought you was. And now their main objective is fighting women who can wear the least amount of clothes, ignorance of the tearing down of the relationships. Anything educational or for our people that will enlighten you.
They're pushing it away. You don't see it.
They shutting it down. Find a community to get involved with. Instagram is going to turn into, I hate to say this, but I got to, OnlyFans. Wow. I want y'all to realize promoting OnlyFans and the people who are sending people to those OnlyFans and OnlyFans are making millions of dollars, Instagram does not like that. They would rather give them their own private room so they can make all that money inside Instagram. Their business model isn't to educate you. Their business model is money. And I've witnessed myself private rooms inside Instagram where they're already doing this.
Wow.
So you better be, like when you see this stuff on all my fellas and you scroll and be like, I'm not following no women like this. But as soon as you slow down to look and go, why? They take that as you're interested and the algorithm will send you more because you slowed down. So you got to understand, you're looking at these women like, how she got 4 million followers? How she got 1 million followers? Man, listen, this stuff ain't meant to help us anymore. Find you a community, man.
Wow. You got a question?
So what's the 5-year plan of maybe like long-term goal for you?
Wow, that's a good one. 2 years, I plan on not living in the United States anymore. The country, I still have something here and come here to do my events and speaking. But I understand that what's happening in this country isn't for the benefit of me. and for people who look like me, and I want more of us to understand that. I want more of us to see they turning back the hands of time with Roe versus Wade and with affirmative action. If you have to live in a country where you need a law to give you what you deserve, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
And now that law is gone, that's a bigger problem. And now what they're trying to do is get the unions up into the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court can now make a decision on, can the jobs have the right to disband unions? So imagine there were no more unions. Imagine all jobs going back to nepotism. When I started with Verizon, it was mostly uncles, nieces, nephews, husbands, like they all hired each other, and there were very few blacks. Like they all hired each other, but then once the union and everything else came into play, nepotism was gone. It was like, yo, now you gotta be qualified. But imagine it going back to them looking at this qualified application and going, nah, I'm gonna get that position to my nephew. I'm gonna get that position to my son. Like, you have to start thinking about real estate everywhere. And I'm making it my business to start teaching this. Real estate is bigger than the United States.
That's a fact.
Wherever you come from in the world, I need you to start thinking about getting real estate there. Like, they're changing so many laws. I want you to envision, they're now training robot dogs that come down the block in a lot of cities, New York being one of them. I want you to imagine, what are these robots being programmed, the data? This data is coming from police files of arrest records that are based on profiling. So imagine you park 3 blocks away, there's nowhere to park. I'm coming down the street 2, 3 in the morning, and one of these robot dogs goes into the data files of all this information that says, somebody who looks like him, 3 o'clock in the morning, asks for ID, 65% of the time he's looking to do a crime. And now this thing stopped me and go, where's your ID? And I go, I ain't giving no ID, I'm going home. I'm a taxpayer, I own houses. The question that nobody is asking, how is that robot going to detain me until the police show up? The police show up. How? That's a question I don't need answered. I just need to go. We get behind our doors and we get comfortable with salary, owning a few pieces of real estate and thinking we hit pay dirt. And I'm gonna tell you, I always pause, but like, so what? They let us in when they wanna let us in. Real estate has been making money for years. Why do you think all of a sudden it's so convenient for us to be able to buy real estate? I told you my parents couldn't get any. Why do you think it's so easy now to get you banged up in these properties where we looking at $300,000 and $800,000 properties talking about, oh yeah, I can make money off of that. $800,000 property, $800,000 property. They were buying properties at $30,000, $40,000 in our hoods right here in Bed-Stuy. Right here. Now they like, that's too pricey for us. That business model doesn't make sense. But we'll find a property and go, yo, I can do this, turn it into, flip it, buy 700, put 400, make it 1.1 million. I could sell it for 1.3 million. I can make 200,000 off of it. My guy, if you can do $700,000, you could go to another state or even another country and start literally building out a whole community. And little do we understand, people are fleeing this country at an alarming rate. Going to other places. We need to start realizing that the more you adapt your mindset to not having to touch real estate, not having to think about it as real estate and as a business, you will be more inclined to buy in other places. Like I'm Ghana, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Costa Rica, like DR. You need to look at these places where tourism will be at its highest level once AI and robotics are at its highest level here. And people will now say, when I retire, I'm retiring back home. I'm retiring to Mexico. I'm retiring to Puerto Rico. I'm going to Costa Rica. We look at this property as being so cheap. Yeah, just like Bed-Stuy property used to be. And guess what happened? We wait until the news and everything else
when they jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, when everything else is high, now we go, oh, I'm on it now. I'm on it now. And you know, I love to give another example, and it's the sneaker, right? Let me hold that sneaker for a minute. Y'all got me started.
I see you got the J's on, so I'm glad.
No, these regulars, regulars. But we could talk about that, right? I always say this about these Jordans when it pops in my brain. If they were to make a pair of Jordans and release them, and those sneakers were $15 pair of Jordans, and they said, we're doing this for the inner city youth. These sneakers will always be $15, and they will never gain any value. I want to know, would you buy that $15 Jordan Would you buy that? Or you buying this Jordan because you know it's $300, $400, $500 and it has value in it? Like you're not buying this, you're buying the price.
The price.
That's what we do. We buy price. Because if the same company made a $15 pair, would you buy the pair?
Like you
And
said,
if you
that
said no,
wouldn't, there's no value behind it.
there's no value.
Or wouldn't raise. Because I remember Stephon Marbury was doing that with the Starburys.
With the Starburys.
Right.
Like, people looked at me buying $40,000 properties, $80,000 properties, and were like, there's no value in that. But now look, there's value. I bought 10 properties in Birmingham, Alabama. They sold me these 10 properties for $500,000, right? So now we looked at 20%, it buys $100,000, and this was before Birmingham was cooking.
Yeah.
So I bought those because in this chat, there was word that Amazon was opening up a warehouse. I said, yo, I'm buying these 10 properties. Like, yo, you buying these properties? They were like 30, 40, 50. I bought a package deal. Now, I had those properties appraised no more than 2 years ago over $1.2 million. Nobody cared about it. Now it's like, oh, yo, I get calls all day. Yo, you want to sell your Birmingham property? We have to stop finding the value in something after it has the value. Amazon was a $3,000 stock. It split and went down to $100. Why do you think that Amazon crashed to $100? It split. This stock owns 15, 16 other companies. We have Amazon Prime. We have Apple phones. We don't own none of this. You need to own Amazon, Apple. You need to own some Google.
Stocks.
You need to own these things. Right. I did a post on my page. I took $219,000. It was exactly a year ago. I had my core stocks, NVIDIA, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, and Microsoft. Exactly a year later, that same $219,000 went up to over $606,000. I ain't do nothing.
Wow.
All I did was buy and hold it. Wow. You know why? Because I knew I can go to sleep, wake up, and those companies are gonna be there.
They're still gonna be there.
Where's it going? But you know what it is? We wait until the news say, oh, stocks are great, but it's overpriced.
Right.
The value of something, like, bro, I'm extremely passionate about what I say and what I do, and it's not just about real estate, because I understand my message that I have.
But anybody that looks at you, bro, and sees what you do, they see that passion and they see that you have that passion in the things that you're talking about, which is why I wanted to sit down with you. Yeah. You know, when I saw you at the Malik Yoba event, that's why I had to approach you, and I'm like, you know, bro, I need to chop it up with you, because you're speaking a lot of the real, you're speaking a lot of the facts, and we look like each other, and we're both from Brooklyn, so it's like, I see a lot of the things that you're doing, which is why I wanted to talk to you, because you're doing a lot for the community. You're doing a lot for just us in general, for some of the things that you're talking about, which is why, like I said, I wanted to just sit down and talk to you, because you and I both know a lot of people that, quote unquote, made it, but are not giving back and not sharing, are not sharing any of that information, which is why I love guys like Jude. Shout out to Jude Bernard, you know, a very humble dude, the same way that you are, that gives back to people, and it's not just about them. When you think about it, folks, there's always folks that they do things, and you can tell the ones that are doing it, and it's coming from a genuine place. Right. But then you look at the ones that they're doing it, and everybody's looking to, I guess, to monetize the situation, which is cool. But everything that we do, just like you said, is bigger than us.
Very.
So, you know, me seeing people like you, like I said, that's why I wanted to talk to you, and, you know, seeing that you're doing the teaching and just all those different things. How did you even get into that? Because I know you used to do your courses online. No, you used to teach on live, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, that's how you started?
I started, you know, it really hit me hard when, oh, damn, I don't know, it's killing me, his name. The gentleman they killed when the cop put his knee on his neck.
George Floyd?
George Floyd. Like, I was teaching 4 people how to buy real estate out of state. And I was just 4 people when we was doing a Zoom call.
4 people?
4 people. And George Floyd happened, which is like 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I turned on my camera, right? I said, I just gotta do, I hated talking on social media. I was like,
I hate to hear the sound of my voice, but this is what
now I love the power, right? That's a whole nother story. But I turned the camera on and I said, I wouldn't even look at the camera. I said, I want to teach people how to invest in real estate out of state. We need to have ownership, blah, 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 blah. And then I got messages. Then I started teaching, and then, it felt good. I started posting some of the class, some of the Zoom calls and talking about the power of it. And then I knew Ash Cash because I met Ash Cash through another friend of ours playing basketball. Wow. Me and him, and this was before he's who he is now. Who he is now, right. He lived in Harlem, and we played ball together. He went do this thing, and I went off, and he moved to Atlanta. And next, I seen him on Instagram. I was like, oh, that's homeboy, that's my guy.
That's your guy.
Right, but we didn't have a solid type relationship like that. But then once I didn't want to reach out to him for his help until I realized I can bring value. Right. Once I started doing my thing, I reached out and said, yo, what's up? He said, oh, yo, Storm, blah, blah, blah. I said, I want you to look at my stuff because I think I got something I want to give to the world. Right. He looked at it, and he hit me back. He's like, yo, you bugging. He's like, yo, you got something, B. He's like, the way you teaching, you're passionate and out of state, blah, blah, blah. He's like, nah, let's do it. He started telling me everything what I need to do. And the one thing that killed me when he said, and I'll never forget, he said, you gotta stop teaching. I said, what?
What do you mean stop teaching? I'm starting to get my feet wet. I'm liking what I'm doing.
Right, that's what I said. But he said, you're doing a disservice because you're teaching for people. He said, there's a world of people need to hear you. He says, take your videos from your classes, we're gonna turn them into courses. Then we're gonna turn them into courses and everybody can get it. Then what we're gonna do is gonna create you an online community, a Zoom call where people, and he gave me the vision and I was like, bet. So once he turned the switch on and helped me do my thing and that, and I give him all the praises for me sitting here. And once he did that, I knew automatically this was my calling to teach, but my voice, I've had for years, due to a fact, two of my sisters died from cancer, and I won't get into the story about it, but there was a situation where at her wake, they were using her wake as a breeding ground to bring people into the church. And I was upset with that. I was young. Yeah. I was like, they was like, oh, it's because of the church. It's because of the church. And I said, wait, my sister's been this beautiful ray of light, not knocking the church, but this is, all these people are here, knew her before the church. Before the church. So I got up there, I was young. I was, and I said, my sister, this, and she's been this, and that, and people start standing up, and I started getting emotional, and I'm crying. I run off the stage into the back, and I had this whole bunch of noise. My family come back there, and they're like, we needed that. We needed that. And then the preacher comes back there and goes,
something spoke to you.
I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna tell you something. You have a gift in your voice. You have a power. Find your message, and when you find that message, let your voice be heard, but find the right message. So once I got this, once I knew the George Floyd, I know I've spoken in front of thousands of people. Right. I used to be an artist, but it's different doing this. Right. And I've seen people speak in front of thousands of people. I've been in front of 14,000 people. I've seen people speak in rooms where people listen to them, but they're not listening.
They're not listening.
And then I get up there, then I start to talk.
Well, they're toning in.
Everybody goes, shh. That's a gift. You have to have the message to address that. Right. And I know what I'm leaning into. What I want everybody to understand is that you're living between a special bookmark in your life of now. N-O-W, now, 2 bookmarks. When the doctor tells your mother to push now, that first bookmark, and that last bookmark when your God or your high being says you're coming home with me now. What do you do in between those 2 bookmarks will define your greatness. So I understand my time between my bookmarks, I don't know. But while I'm here to teach more than about real estate. But I'm gonna give you real estate, but it's gonna get you started, and now it's gonna get you into growing into other aspects. But I gotta give you baby food before I give you meat. Then even once I'm giving you meat, I have to let you understand that it wasn't the meat that made the silverback gorilla as big as he is. So I have to eventually get you off the meat and redefine your diet. I have to redefine your diet into being a visionary, right? So there are certain steps that you need to go through to become great. And I understand my growth and my levels. I must change every day. If I'm still doing the same thing I was before, then I'm gonna be no better than who you see are. I need to be greater and change, not a better version of who I am now. This version you're seeing now is literally dying as I speak to you, and it will be different tomorrow.
Wow. Folks, I don't think we have anything else to say.
God, really? I don't kill the mood.
You've given a lot of gems. You've given a lot of gems. So let me ask you a question. If somebody comes up to you today, Storm, I have 10 or 15, I have $15,000 or $20,000 and I'm looking to get into real estate. I'm looking to do something. What would be your advice to them?
Man, I get that question a lot. The first thing I tell people to do, invest in your knowledge. Invest in knowledge. Get yourself a mentor, get yourself a coach, get yourself a consultant. But you want to have, you always put me into these places where I got a whole thing, but I don't want to go into the whole thing. Get yourself a coach.
We don't want you to give everything, you're giving a lot.
Yeah, give a little.
And then, if you want more, you got to book him. Because he's,
Invest that $10,000 in your knowledge. Then you'll be able to get your knowledge will attract more money.
Right.
10,000 will only attract the one deal. But if you invest in your knowledge, you will attract a circle of people who will now invest in you to invest in the deal.
Question? Anything? What are some of the things that you do on with the teachings that you're teaching? You do consulting. What else?
Mentorship, consulting. The biggest thing for me is helping people become the change that they're looking for. I have people that join my mentorship, not even for real estate, because they know I'm going down a path that they need this information about life, about businesses, about your background, your mind, your belief. Like, people need this thing, and at the same time they go, Storm, I don't want no real estate, but you getting ready to do some business. I want to buy businesses. I want to do this. I want to create, like, I talk about living trust, which I didn't get into. That's the biggest thing.
We could jump into it. If you want to talk about it, we could jump into it.
I read the trust from Rockefeller's trust from 1934. Once I understood that you doing all this and not leaving the right paperwork behind,
it's just as good as.
It's like you never did nothing.
Right.
So when I went to get a will done, my attorney said, you need to look into a trust. I said, a trust? So he broke down the trust aspects, and I was like, man. Okay, a trust does this. Let me find out who has one of the most best trusts we always hear about. Rockefeller. Trust. Looked up Rockefeller, read the trust from 1934, read the book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? Read that book.
What would the Rockefellers do?
Yep. So once I read that book, I understood that he used all his wealth to hand down, even to this day, he paid out 12 generations. To this day, still paying out 12 generations. Through his assets and through making sure those things are bought. And let me give you a quick summary. The way that people really found out a lot about me was I did a video on a whiteboard on YouTube where I took a life insurance policy for $500,000 and I turned that into $8 million that you can hand down to your fourth generation with a life insurance policy. That video went viral, right? So I'm gonna give you a quick breakdown of how you can do this, because there's no, I want to tell you, because once I tell you, you can't unhear it. That's really why. You can't say you never heard it. Get you a life insurance policy, which everyone should have. If you have cell phone insurance and car insurance and don't have life insurance, that's a problem.
Disservice.
You have a life insurance policy for your family. Your family has one life insurance. Your family, your kids, your wife, your husband, that's a life insurance policy for them. You get another separate life insurance that's going to be for your grandchildren, for your legacy. That life insurance will be in a brokerage account. The brokerage account will be in the name of the trust. Everything will be in the name of the trust, but I'm specifically talking about your legacy right now. You have a $500,000 policy in your brokerage account. When you pass away, your grandchildren will get that money when they turn 21. So $500,000, 21 years, 6% interest. A brokerage account is an account that takes stocks, gauge on what you want to invest in, and it grows interest by 6%. $500,000, 21 years, 6% interest, that would turn into about that turns into about 1.7 million for your grandchildren. You only give them half. So let's say you give them 700,000, the other 7 stays in. 7 goes to your great grandchildren, the other 7 stayed in. That goes to 21 years, 6% interest. That turns into about $2.2 million for your great grandchildren. They don't get 2.2, you give them half. So that's about 1.1. 1.1 goes to your great grandchildren. 21 years, 6% interest. That turns into about $4.3 million. They only get half. That other half stays in, 2.6. That turns into about $7.7 million for your fourth generation. $7 million. Now that goes to about 20, let's say I did half of that. So literally you're looking at leaving over $11 million for your great grandchildren from a $500 life insurance policy that was in a brokerage account that you had for them. That's the power of compound interest, brokerage account. Your life is worth money. The moment you die, the air you breathe is worth money. The power of that, and I'm gonna give you this last gem and I'm done. I swear I'm done. The reason why you make this more powerful, everybody in your trust has a life insurance policy, and that life insurance policy gets paid out and your trust becomes the bank, so your grandchildren can borrow from your trust and be the bank. And everybody beneficiary, the beneficiaries also have a trust. So a trust gets created for everybody in that trust. So why is this so important? Rockefeller paid his child. His child had a child. So Rockefeller Trust paid his child, paid his grandchild. But remember, he had a trust for his child created when his child was born. So his grandchild got paid twice. Great-grandchild gets paid 3 times because it's a cascading effect when everybody has a trust.
Right. Well, folks, we have nothing else to say. How can people reach you and see some of the different things that you're doing?
You can reach me on Instagram at I am Storm Leroy. Also go to my YouTube, Employed Millionaire, where I'll be doing free courses, lives. Join my community. And you go into my bio on my Instagram. My community is free. I teach in there. I give a lot of information. I do family retreats for my community in Aruba and Bali because we need to get together as a family.
Nice. My daughter just came back from Bali.
Yeah. So and as a member, these trips are included or discounted at a great rate. So find a community to join.
Nice. There you have it, folks. You guys know me. You know I like to bring people on that speaks the real, speaks the truth, speaks the facts, and you know everything this man is doing, the proof is in the pudding. So definitely, follow Storm, join his community, link up with what he's doing. You're definitely going to pick up a lot of gems. You can learn something. You can take whatever you're looking to do to the next level because this man is very knowledgeable. I mean, you can listen to all the different things that he had to say today, and I really don't have too much more to say. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, you can reach out to either myself or my son. We cover Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island. If you're looking to do anything in other states, I have people in every single state that you're looking for. So 917-337-3727. You can reach me on socials at femitheagent and
femitherealtor on Instagram, and my number is 516-662-6824.
Stay safe, folks. We have nothing left.
Always seek knowledge.
ASK, he had those shirts too. We got all the merch, folks, because I'm definitely going on the site right now.